Hi everyone, this is Carolyn from O2Bstamping.com. Today I wanted to share this fall card with you because in my neck of the woods all the leaves are starting to change on the trees, so it's putting me in that fall spirit. And I actually saw a design for this card online from another Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and it's from some time ago, but the stamp set is actually still not retired, current I should say, and I just love the design of this card. It is a little bit of work, but it's not hard work, and it's well worth it all in the end. And so it's also a shaker card. I'm not sure you can see that, but maybe you can hear it. So I want to show you how this is made. Get this. So here are the supplies that you will need. We're going to start with a piece of very vanilla cardstock that measures 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then I'm just going to take my bone folder, make a good crease in it. Then I'm going to also need another piece of very vanilla cardstock. This one measures 3 3/4 by 5. And this is the one I'm going to start stamping on. So the stamp set that I'm using for this project is called Vintage Leaves. And then I'm also using the coordinating framelits that are called leaflets framelits dies. So these are going to be the 3 that I'm using. And then there's also still 3 in the package. So this is a nice bundle. Actually, it's not sold as a bundle this year, so it was only sold as a bundle the very first year that it came out. But so what I mean when I say that is when you buy it as a bundle, you can save 10%. But these 2 items are sold separately now. So what I'm going to do to start is I'm going to use this large leaf and my Memento ink pad. And I'm going to ink up my stamp. I'm going to bring in my stamping mat. And then I'm going to stamp this far right and at a bit of an angle. I think about right there should do it. Okay. Now I am also going to take my Peekaboo Peach. This measures exactly the same size. So I'm going to lay that right beneath it. And then I'm going to take my framelit, my magnetic platform that goes with my Big Shot, 1 cutting pad. I'm going to lay this right, make sure that my Peekaboo Peach is even there. I'm going to take my framelit, line it up, put the other cutting pad on it, run it through the Big Shot. Okay, so what we end up with is this. Now actually, you can do this next step that I'm getting ready to do is I'm going to sponge some color on my leaf. You can actually do that before you run it through the Big Shot. I just didn't think about it. And it looks as though as well you might want to run that through the Big Shot a couple of times, or maybe use a shim. I'm seeing that my Peekaboo Peach piece did not cut out well, and that's important that it cuts out on the very same line as this one. So I'm going to run that one more time. I'm just going to slide that off to the side, put this back on. So just when you do this, I didn't have this problem the first card I made, so I'm not sure why it's happening this time, but just make sure that it cuts through both layers. You may have to run it back and forth more than once. So let's try it now. It should work. Ah, yes. Okay, so this is just going to be a spare piece that you can use for another project. And what we're going to do here is I'm going to use some ink and sponges to sponge some color on. At the same time, I am going to do that with my little leaves, which I first need to stamp. So I'm just bringing in 2 pieces of scrap paper. Set that aside for the moment. My Memento ink again. And then I'm going to use, I believe this is an aspen leaf. So stamp that. And then I'm going to change to a smaller leaf. Not sure what these leaves are. Should have done a little botany quiz before I started. And there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in my fall colors, and I've chosen Lemon Lime Twist, Cajun Craze, and Peekaboo Peach. Let me zoom out a little bit for you guys. I'm getting quite a bit of things on my table here. Alright, so I'm going to start with the lightest color first. So that would be Peekaboo Peach. Just using 1/4 of a sponge. And I am just going to randomly sponge some color on. Now, keeping in mind that I'm going to have 3 other colors, I don't need a lot of each. So the next one I'm going to use is Lemon Lime Twist. Love this color. Okay, and then last I'm going to use my Cajun Craze. Love this color too. I find I use this color a lot in the fall. Okay, I think I'm good with that. Alright, a little bit here. Okay. Then I'm going to bring in my magnetic platform again. Put my leaves down, and then I'm going to use the matching framelets. Some other good fall colors that you could use on this project would be Old Olive and Cherry Cobbler. They would make a more dark colored leaves for a bit of a change. Okay. Alright, and this is what they look like after you've run them through the Big Shot. Pretty, aren't they? I love fall colors. They're just warm and comforting to me. Okay, so we're going to just set these aside for the moment. And then I am going to actually put this aside as well. I'm going to bring this back in. I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to actually turn this over, and I'm going to take some Scotch tape, and I'm going to just Scotch tape this right in place. I don't want it to move because I want it to line up exactly with this piece that we're going to put on top of it. Make sense? Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do actually is to bring this in, and a piece of window sheet that measures 2 1/4 by 4 3/4, just big enough to cover the cutout. You'll notice I've put a little sticker on here. That is so that I don't lose this piece of window sheet, which I am always doing. So just put that on there to keep track of it. Okay, and so with this, I'm actually going to add that using some Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue. Now with the window sheets, they do get sort of staticky, so they tend to want to pick up just little fibers off of your workspace, so just kind of keep an eye on that. Alright, there we go. Okay, and then I'm actually going to just put a seal of glue around the leaf. Something I have learned, however, is you don't want to go up on the actual complete outline of the leaf. Like, you don't want to go put glue on these little areas, because I found that if you do, all your shaker stuff will stick to it. Okay, so we're just going to lay this down on top of the cutout, like so. And voila. Okay, so far so good. Alright, now we're going to take a piece of Designer Series paper. This piece actually comes from the Painted Autumn Designer Series pack. I'm just going to add this with some snail adhesive. I will say that Painted Autumn Designer Series paper is probably my favorite from this year. It's just gorgeous. Okay, so I'm going to add that right at the edge. I might be leaving, I'd say 1/8 of an inch border here. Just watch your border on this side. Make sure it's not covering any of your leaf. I see I've got a little bit of overhang here. I'm just going to trim that off. There we go. Okay, now I am going to use some adhesive strips. If you haven't tried these yet, these are really so nice. I definitely recommend them. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to tear off just what I need. Can get it started here. So this comes on a sheet with lots of them. I've just cut 2 of them off the sheet. I think actually that's all I had left on the sheet, and thought it would be easier to work with if I just tore them off. Okay, so now I'm going to go around my leaf outline with the self-adhesive strips. I'm going to cut it wherever it's necessary, but if it's not necessary, then just work with it as is. You can't, I tend to like to cut mine and work in smaller pieces, but it is bendable, so you might be able to actually get I'm actually going to take one of these off. I think that will be much easier. Okay, and then when you get ready to butt up to another piece, you want to make sure you've got a really good, zoom in here a little bit, that there's no little holes there, because you don't want your goodies, your little shaker goodies, to leak out. Okay, I actually don't have that as good as I'd like. I'm going to pull that back up again. There we go, that's better. Okay, and then I'm going to come around. And looks like I'm going to need one more piece. And if possible, leave the strip that's on the top that's protecting the adhesive surface, leave that intact if you can. That way when you fill the inside with your shaker material, it won't tend to get stuck up on that adhesive part. Okay, again, butt this up really good. Bring it around. Make sure that before you cut it, you're leaving good space to butt that piece up as well. Okay. All right. I know that looks odd, but it's going to work. So let me just turn it over. Make sure you can't see any of that adhesive from the other side. Okay, then I'm going to bring in my filler. Now, I use all kinds of stuff for my shaker cards. So one of the things that I've used in here is some stars that I've cut out with the star border punch. Look, I can't even pick any of those up. Come on. Oh, here we go. Alright, so this little star that's actually cut off a little bit. There we go. So they came, I did these in lemon lime twist and pumpkin, these little stars, and with the star border punch, but I'm not even sure that's still available. But just look through your punches and see what you might have that'll go with the theme of your card. You can also put in some sequins. I've seen people use glitter. I personally don't like glitter because it tends to want to stick to my adhesive sheet, but you know, maybe there's a solution for that that I'm not aware of. And then the other thing that I've used is go back through your Big Shot dies. I try to stick with everything that's current, but you know, sometimes I don't, simply because if you've been a Stampin' Up! Customer for a while, you may have these same little framelits. This one actually came out of the square pillow box thinlits, so they had some seasonal framelits in there, and I just used one of those to get some leaves and some pumpkins for my shaker material. And then I also have, trying to remember the name of what this came out of. I'll post it. I'll post it when I do the video. But it's these little pieces right here. Let me pick that up so you can see that better. Yeah. Anyway, I'll write it on the video so you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm going to actually take some of this and just take a couple of pinches of filler. Now you want to be careful that you don't add so much filler that it won't really shake nice. So you do want to be a little bit on the conservative side. Okay, then I'm going to bring this in. Make sure that when you bring this in that your stem is matching the stem here, so it's going to go on like this. And because those two pieces are cut exactly the same, I'll be able to line them up without having to try to see the other side of the peach cardstock. When you're taking these off, my suggestion is hold on to your cardstock so that it doesn't catch and flip all of your material out. One other thing that you want to do as well is you want to add some dimensionals to this side. Forgot to do that. So that you have something that will also lift this side of your paper up the same height as that. So what I've done is I've actually taken 2 dimensionals. I've peeled off the protective paper from one of them and then glued those 2 together and then put them on my card. So you kind of have a double thickness. Or you could actually just use more of this, you know, in this area, but I didn't think to do that. So I'm just going to use this instead. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to use 2 more dimensionals because I don't have a double thickness of that handy. So let's just peel this off. The reason I do that is they actually stick together better if you peel the one off. Okay, now we got it going. Alright, so now we're going to cover this. Again, make sure that your outline is matching this outline. And bring this closer so I can match it up well. Okay, I think I've got it. I'm actually going to even put a piece of Scotch tape across this end down here because I'm seeing that the little leaf wants to poke in a little bit. There we go. Okay, there you have your shaker card. Fun, 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 fun. Okay, so now to kind of decorate that, get some of this little trash out of here. Okay. So in order to decorate it, what I've done is I've added the leaves that we cut out, these. I've added some gold sequin trim. Now this gold sequin trim that I have is actually older. I think it's from last year. I'm always trying to use up things. But we have a really pretty, real thin gold sequin trim this year. And of course I only had the silver, so I went back to this sequin trim. And then you can also use any kind of ribbon that you have that maybe has gold in it. And then last but not least, I took some of the burlap ribbon, and all I did was, I'm just going to show you a little sample here. I cut into it, and then, come on, I just cut away this way. Just pretend this is a long piece of ribbon, but then you get it all in little pieces, little strings I should say, so that it actually looks like this. Cool. So anytime you have burlap ribbon and you need something a little bit masculine, or like this reminds me of fall for some reason, hay I can't talk, hay bales maybe, I don't know what this reminds me of. But then I'm just going to take this and freehand, I'm going to tie a bow, and I'm going to leave these fairly long. Okay, I'm going to set that aside, and then I am also, I think just to give this some stability, I'm going to go ahead and I can see one place where I still need another double dimensional. So get that apart, glue these two together, and I need one for this upper corner right here. Ooh. There we go. Okay. Now, if your card doesn't exactly match up, I can see mine's a little bit off here. Just get your scissors out and just cut that piece off. There. Okay, then I'm going to actually add this to my background piece. I'm actually going to take my adhesive again. You could actually use any kind of sturdy adhesive on the back of this. When I'm looking for sturdy adhesive, this is my go-to. I call it my green glue. And then I'm simply going to add my shaker card to my background. Then I'm going to add this to my card front. Okay, so now to decorate, I'm going to start with my ribbon and my sequins. So I have 7 inches of the thin ribbon, and like I say, you can pretty much do you know, whatever kind of embellishments you want. Look through your stash, but these are some, I definitely recommend gold. They're just a good complement to this card. Okay, then I'm just going to kind of, so I've got 7 inches of the gold white ribbon and 6 inches of the gold sequins. And the sequins are sometimes can be a little tricky to get them to attach. So actually, because I'm going to be covering this up, I'm going to actually use good old Scotch tape. Now when I go to put my leaves on, I actually trim off a bit of that top stem, and then I am going to use the little one first, and I'm not using dimensionals because I'm actually wanting that to hide the Scotch tape, so I want it to be right down over the Scotch tape. And actually the bulk of the sequins and the ribbon trim kind of pop this up a little bit on its own anyway. There we go. Then I'm going to take my burlap ribbon bow. A little bit of, you could use a glue dot for this as well, but the glue is handy. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to trim this off a bit. And there you have it. Isn't that pretty? I love this card. I think it's just so pretty, and I love shaker cards anyway. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, I hope you'll leave me a comment or a thumbs up and let me know that you've enjoyed it. I also have a blog. I would love to have you come visit there as well. It's www.o2bstamping.com. And if you really like this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and that way you'll get an email notifying you anytime that I add new content to my YouTube page. So I hope you have a great day and an enjoyable fall. Thanks for stopping by.